welcome to the Community Coin Walk and Talk. Today we are at a market, a farmer's market actually, and we are going to walk around and have a look. And while we do that, we are going to talk about whether or not we are headed into a depression.
He is doing a beautiful job.
It seems fairly clear that we are currently in a recession and headed most likely toward an actual depression. And it doesn't seem that there's any way that we can avoid that. We have technically been in a recession for about a year now, and we will likely enter into a depression within 6 months. So that would be late spring of 2024. And it is, in my opinion, likely to be worse than the first depression of 1929 to 1939. I'm going to be taking breaks from talking so that we can enjoy the sights and sounds.
Oh, help me, baby.
So why is the new depression going to be worse than the old depression? The depression of 2024 to 2030 probably will be worse than the depression of 1929 to 1939 because in those days people really were not connected. People produced things for themselves. They didn't rely so heavily on others to produce for them. There really was very limited telecommunications. There was just a basic telephone and telegraph. There was obviously no internet or computers or anything like that. So people lived fairly individual lives, and they were not interconnected in the way that they lived and earned money and spent money. So when that depression happened, many people lived in rural areas and could still provide for themselves and do for themselves. Whereas now, people live in more urban and suburban areas, and they're not producers. They don't produce things for themselves. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They make money and then they pay others to take care of them. they outsource everything in their life. They outsource their food, they outsource their shelter, they outsource repairs, they outsource clothing, they outsource healthcare. They outsource everything in their lives nowadays. And so when the financial system finally collapses under the weight that it is under, this collapse will hit people much harder than the 1929 collapse. So then what do we do to get by, to survive a collapse like that? How do we prepare? How do we take care of the things that we need to take care of now and then after the collapse happens? That is a big subject, and we probably won't get to much of that here in this little walk and talk. But we can start by researching the subject, researching the current expectations for the economy and the future of the economy. And if we understand what people are expecting to happen in the coming months and years, then at least we know what it is that we're likely to be dealing with and working with. And if we know that, then we can start to make plans about how we can hopefully mitigate some of the problems that we're going to be facing as individuals and societies. Ever since World War II, people have lived in the market economy, which means that they make money, they make profit, and then they use that money and profit to buy the things that they want and need. And the market economy since World War II has been an economy of consumption and excess, but we are moving into a new kind of economy. We're moving into an economy of subsistence, an economy where our efforts will be to meet our subsistence needs, whereas in the market economy that we're leaving at the moment, our efforts were to meet our excessive needs and our consumption needs. Up until now, we worked to buy big screen TVs and the new iPhone and a bigger and better car and a bigger and better house and bigger and better everything. But when the new economy is here, we will be working just to survive, just to buy food and shelter and the necessities. So we're moving out of a market economy, out of an economy of excess and consumption, into a core economy or an economy of subsistence, where our priorities and values will have to adjust. And instead of being concerned with the more superficial things that have consumed us for the last 78 years or so, we are going to be concerned with more important things, things that are more basic to our life and our survival. And I think that this actually is a good thing, and I think that it should happen and needs to happen, because this life of consumption and excess not only has been consuming the resources of the planet and the resources of countries and the resources of people at an alarming rate. But living this life of consumption and this life of excess actually detracts from living an authentic life. An authentic life is one that is spent pursuing the things that are really important, the things that really matter. And when all of our base needs are met so easily, we tend to focus on things that really are not so important. We focus on superficial things like having the right kind of clothes and the right kind of car and having a beautiful lawn, the best lawn in the neighborhood. And these things really don't matter. What matters are the fundamental parts of life, the parts of life that are truly living, like our connection with this world and connection with this life and connection with ourselves and connection with others. The younger generations spend all of their time in front of screens, whether it's an iPhone or an iPad or a tablet of some sort or a computer or a television. They're in front of screens. They don't talk to each other face to face. They text each other even if they're sitting face to face. And in this life of consumption and excess, we have lost touch with what it is to be a real person. And it's good, I think, that we are being forced back into discovering or rediscovering what it is to be a real person, to really be alive. And so people will probably look at the coming economic crisis and depression initially as a bad thing. And it will take tremendous readjustment to learn how to live in that kind of an economy. But I think in the long run we will be better off for it, because we will get back in touch with what it is to be living rather than just consuming. Consumption is not a healthy lifestyle, and we've all lived the lifestyle of consumption for so long. And it's time that we learn how to live a sustainable life and live a life of sustenance, of sustaining ourselves and sustaining our societies and sustaining the planet. So, in the long run, I think it's going to be a good thing, but it's going to take preparation. So I encourage people to start preparing as early as possible so that the transition is less bumpy. And you'll have to do research about how is best to prepare, because it's going to be different for everyone. Everyone's situation is different. But you'll want to look at how are you going to meet your basic needs? How are you going to make money? How are you going to pay bills? We have, in the last 78 years since World War II, in this market economy, this economy of consumption and excess, we have had the luxury of just having a job and making money and then use that money to pay our bills, and then we work for 30 years and retire and enjoy our retirement. But in the coming new economy, it's not going to be quite that simple. We're going to not just have a job, we're going to have lots of jobs. We're going to have what are frequently referred to as side hustles. Little skills that we have that we can use to either gain money or barter our skill for things that we need. And so we will be doing lots of little jobs in order to get by. So think about, what are your skills? What can you do as a side hustle? What can you barter? What do you have to offer other people so that you have something of value that you can use to get by? And this has always been something that's been important, but up until now, people really have not thought much about that idea, because they just have their job and they get their paycheck and they spend their paycheck. But this idea of side hustles, this idea of skills, this idea of barterable skills, this idea of how can you be valuable to others, we all need to start thinking about this now while we still have time to put the preparations in place so that we can have something to offer when the time comes that we need to have something to offer, so that we have the skills and the tools to carry out those skills. We don't want to wait too long and find ourselves in a situation where we need these things and we have not yet developed them. We want to go ahead and develop them now so that we have them ready when the time comes. So that's today's walk and talk, or walk and ramble, maybe would be better. I don't know if any of that will be useful information to anyone or if it will be new information to anyone. The main idea here was to just show the farmers market. And we might as well talk about something a little bit while we're looking at the market. I hope you have a good rest of your day and do what you can to be ready.